Jennifer Carroll, former Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Florida, former state representative, and the CEO of Yolo Rum. You only live once.
Diversified Game. Learn how to start, run, and sustain your business.
Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game, you guys are in for a real treat. And I say that because this person, when I saw them, I said, have I seen them on TV before? And I'm thinking like movies and everything, but she is so much more than just the fascinating look. She's smart. She's intelligent. She's done things in the military that you guys would be like, whoa, she's highly decorated. And she's the former lieutenant governor of this state of Florida, but also owner
Oh, you
of
got your bottles.
Yolo.
YOLO.
Trying to get 2 bottles. Miss Jennifer, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I am YOLOing. Thank you. I appreciate you. Appreciate you buying
You
your bottles and having it on sets.
Well, let me tell everybody real quick. First of all, I ordered these probably the day after we met, but then I took a trip and I had no one here 21 to sign, right? No one was here, or no one was here that was 21. And I'm like, man, my kids, I tried to tell them one time when we came back, I needed these bottles. So I got these yesterday and by force. Usually don't drink during the week unless I have a special meeting. And I had to try these and they were good. I just had a sip. So, because I want to have it with my wife. That's my drinking partner. And so, yeah, I got the 2 bottles, and you guys buy 2 bottles, at least right now, you get a third for free. So why not get 2 so you can know which one that you like? I'm a rum fan, so I dig it.
Because, for many rum drinkers, they would just, when they go to a bar, they say either they want the other brands, that's not ours, or they'll say, give me a rum and Coke. And they're getting rum, which is not very good. There are 3 parts to the alcohol of making rum. There's the head, there's a heart, and there's a tail. And the head of the rum is the first run of the alcohol, and that's very toxic. It's what your methanol and rubbing alcohol is made out of, and you don't want to drink that at all. So that's the first run, and it's taken off the top of that alcohol distillation. The other part that's taken off, that's also bitter and doesn't have great flavor, is the tail. And then many companies that make the cheaper rums, they'll blend the head and the tail together to have another run of alcohol. So you're not getting the best part of the alcohol. With Yolo Rum, you're getting the best part, the heart. The heart of the alcohol run is what's have the best flavor. It's nice and smooth, and it's the most desired part of the alcohol. And Yolo Rum is made from the heart of the alcohol.
I love that. If you have an animation or a graphic for that, please make sure I have it, whether it's now or even later, because that is something to add. And with everyone having, or many people having ADHD, and they need it in cartoon form to learn, that would be, I could see it. And I love the heart part of it. Also, what I noticed was, unlike, some pre-mixed rums, like you can name a brand and we won't because we're talking Yolo Rum, but it's not pre-mixed where it's sweet. So you can make it as sweet or not. You didn't throw a ton of sugar. Talk about that, because a lot of companies like to just hook you with the sugar and they don't care about the heart of anything. The azúcar, they care because they know it's the biggest drug we have.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up. We have 34 international awards that we won for our quality, for the production of our product, our bottling of our product. 34 international awards, which is unheard of for a company that is as young as ours. We've been in existence since 2012, and 2013 is when we entered our first international competition for our rum tasting. So we've won gold and silver awards of 34 international awards up until our last entry was in 2022. With regards to our rum, it is sugar-free, gluten-free with no additives. We put nothing back in. You're getting rum made in its purest form. The person who made the formula for our rum is a renowned distiller and master blender, Don Pancho Fernandez. He's made a number of spirits for Bruno Mars and a lot of celebrities. But in his words, This product, this rum product he's made is a standard that all rums should be made to. And that's speaking volumes from a man who used to make, distill and make rum for Fidel Castro and fled Cuba for his life when he moved to Panama. So at our plant in Panama, our rum is made out of good quality sugarcane that's grown in volcanic soil in the Caribbean basin. The sugarcane is processed and distilled and vaporized such that all the impurities are extracted out of it. And what you have is rum made in its purest form with no sugars. We have people that have diabetes, and we have our millennials that are concerned about gluten free, sugar free products, and they want to enjoy a libation, but they also want to make sure it's not going to impede their health consciousness. And so with Yolo Rums, it gives the consumer an option to not go after those other drinks, because a lot of rum products, we're the only ones that have the staple that we're certified gluten free and sugar free with no additives in our rum product. They have some products that will say they're sugar free or they may be gluten free, but they're not either or all three. And so, therefore, individuals looking for a good quality premium rum that they can enjoy the spirits of either making, and we're also versatile. Our gold products can make any classic whiskey drink, and our silver product, our silver Yolo rum, can make any classic vodka drink, and it makes it crisper and smoother. So I encourage your listeners to go out there and get a few bottles and try their mixes at home online at yolorum.com. We have great recipes. So if you want to just have a spritzer with the gold, or just the gold on ice, or have it in a sniffer glass and just get it in the aromas and the smoothness of the drink, have it that way. So we're very proud of the product that we have because it gives the consumer a better option than what they've had in years past.
Now, you talk about the awards and the whole, the success that you're having and being a young company. Do you still get, with everything you've done, you've written, best-selling books, you highly decorated in the military, you've had high government positions, you've done what people have done where your kids are even successful. People know that, your son has been in the NFL. Does it get surprising to you or to other people to say, well, of course Jennifer did? Or do they give you the, oh, of course she did because she's done all these other things? And like, what, how do you think, like, when you're creating, is it like, I'm going to do this because I know I can win, because I have the connections, I know where to go, I know the powers and the pieces to put together? Like, I just want to know that the love you get, the hate you get, but most importantly, how you feel inside, because a lot of people can't get over that. And so they don't ever get to elevate because they're thinking everything else that I had aforementioned before they're thinking of what they think inside in their corazon.
Well, I appreciate that question. Now, when people see me in an action, for whether it's my volunteer work or it's in the business or in politics, they see an action driven person. So they assume that I will take care of things and do what's right, and have excellence in the product, the end product, which is great. I embrace that belief, and people's confidence in me. However, no matter where you are, you have to have a level of confidence in yourself. You have to plan, prepare, so that when opportunities come, you can walk through the door as opposed to having the door closed back in your face. There's some opportunities that will come that may not be for you. Oftentimes, people will see the successes other people are having and want their success, but that's their success, it's not your success. And you have to embrace who you are, whose you are, and make sure that you plan and prepare accordingly. That's with education, that's with knowledge. One thing I've seen of late is people are afraid to capture the knowledge of other people. When I was a young lad in the military, I joined the military as an E1, the lowest rank you can be. I was sweeping the hangar tracks of bird poop. I was cleaning the aircraft with turquoise, a very toxic fluid, that got in my eyes and in your nose and in your hand. It just, and nowadays the military, they're going backwards to see of all those toxicities that we were exposed to and giving compensation for disability. But I had to learn from the ground up. And one thing I learned very early from my father and my mother, they're both very hard workers. They're Trinidadians. I'm from Trinidad, born in Trinidad, raised in New York. So that work ethic that you get from at least my family, the Caribbean family, is that you get up early in the morning, no one owes you anything, and you have respect for your elders, you have respect for your family, you have respect for yourself, and you learn and grow. So with that as my base, when I got to my military base in Hawaii, there was an individual. He was the highest or most respected worker on the line. And the line. I started on the line in the aircraft because I was a jet mechanic, and I started on the line. And the line are the people who fuel the aircraft, who inspected the aircraft before it turned around for its flight, and also reference to the maintenance department, what maintenance issues need to be taken care of. You see the people on the side of the aircraft when they're coming in the terminal and they're wanding in the airplane. I used to do that. So those groundwork and those foundational bricks enabled me to be where I am today. Was it easy? Of course not. In my book, When You Get There, I write my autobiography, but many challenges that I've had throughout my life. But the one thing that have grounded me throughout all of it is my belief and faith in God. He is the only one that can get us through anything. He's the only one who knows who we are, what we can do, what we can accomplish, but we also need to have grace and humility to come back to Him in times of turbulation, in times of adversities, and also ask and seek His assistance into who we should be, how we should comport ourselves, what are the things that are challenging us that He can help us with, and understanding that some of those challenges that we're going through, we're supposed to go through it because it's going to grow us, it's going to make us stronger, and it's going to prepare us for what He has in store for us in the future.
Amen. Amen. And so that has helped you with your life. But then to add on, and this is a very important piece because every night we can see young people, and young is relative, talking about relationships and saying that they need six figures and they need 6 feet and whatever other six you can think about. But they don't talk about, and you never hear, or you rarely hear someone talk about the longevity like you've had with your husband. So talk about selecting the right partner and then raising, kids, whatever the right way for you was, like you said, hardworking Trinidadians. We know one thing about Trinidadians. They do not have a self-esteem problem. And, and then a New Yorker, you add that on, I mean, you got the hustle impacted. But just talk about that because I love people to hear how married people actually live versus what they hear online. And everybody's a dang philanthropist and, a miracle worker.
See, that is the thing, and bringing God back into your life, because you can't meet a person and be in lust and think that's love that's going to sustain a relationship. And you don't need to jump into bed with anyone at the onset. Learn and understand that individual. Know who you are first before getting into a relationship. You cannot get into a relationship with someone to fix you or someone to be you or help you. You have to understand yourself, what you want to accomplish out of life. What do you want out of a partner? And does that partner complement you? And that comes with self awareness. And in the dating phase, is that where you find out about an individual? What about their family? What about their faith? What about their objectives in life? Where are they taking themselves? What do they want to do in life? Is it complementary to what I want to do? Now, every marriage is not going to be perfect. My husband and I, and next year, we'll be going into our 41st year of marriage, which we're very pleased about that the Lord has blessed us this many years to be together, and we have three accomplished children. And in raising those kids, my husband was very engaged and involved. He let me lead the way, like my mother did in our family, in being the disciplinarian. But we also had a unity between the two of us, that it wouldn't be the kids are able to go to dad and get their way around mom or vice versa. If the kids needed something or wanted something, we both will have that discussion and we both will come out as a united front to our kids is this is what we're going to stand for, this not what you're not going to get, etc., and the reasons why. And it wasn't later on in life that my kids said, I compliment them even to this day, 36, 35, 31. And they said, Mom, we were afraid of you. We didn't want to get into trouble. When they went to school, each one of them started school at 2. We told our kids that they're not going to come home with the excuse that they didn't turn in an assignment or they didn't get a good grade or they were misbehaving in class because it's the teacher's fault. We put the responsibility on them. And also, too, we were just commenting on this last night and poking fun about it. The kids are saying, we didn't like to be at home during the summer because they were still in school. I would go to the Scholastic store, purchase books for their next grade upcoming, and during the summer months, they still had to do those Scholastic books. So they were continue to be prepared for the next school year coming up. So our friends would say, your kids are the only ones that we know that want to go back to school from summer break. But it helps hand in glove when you have a good spouse or a good partner that is with you that believe particularly in your faith. If you don't have a partner that has that grounding in faith and they you can raise your children in that sort of household, then it's going to be a house built on sand and not on rock, solid rock.
I love that. And there's your next whole series of books. Because that, when you said that, it made me really realize why I have a 14-year-old volunteering at the hospital and the 10-year-old goes to the camp. And they make sure I'm up, just like they do for church, because they want to get out the house. And that's why, because there's always something to do around the house. I'm going to always have a task for you. So
Mhm.
that really woke me up. And now you have all of this and you've written a book. Do you plan on writing more books? Because you just described like you started from cleaning the bird poop, and then I guess the promotion or the extra task was, doing semaphore on the plane. I believe that's what they call the flag language.
Mhm.
Do you have another book on just, maybe how to raise children, how to have a family and have it all? Because I know talking to my wife and all of her physician friends, they're like, it's because of him you can have all of this. And it's like, no, it's because of us and because God is playing number one in our life, even when we're totally out of whack. I'm filthy rags at best. That's what the scriptures tell me. And I know it, right? But do you have a book for that planned or a series or maybe even a movie? Because the world needs it when we're seeing the decline of family, which starts off a lot of the mess that we see in the news, criminal wise and otherwise.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, the news never brings it back to family. They blame money. They blame the politicians. They blame the police. They blame everything else but the household. And you can have single parents, whether they be male or female, but you have to have discipline and accountability and responsibility. And you're mentioning your children having additional tasks to do, our kids, from the time they were 2, we had chore boards. So each one of them had to do their chores at the end of the night. And if their chore, whether it's taking out the trash from their room or making sure the bathroom was cleaned up and the tub was cleaned and the little things, age appropriate. And then they'll go to the chore board and they mark it off that they've done it. We'll go and inspect. And if it wasn't done properly, they'll have to go back and do it again. Again, that's that work ethic that you're building and instilling in the child from young. Oftentimes, parents are very busy. The technology has taken over from their phone and their friends and the YouTube and the TikToks and whatnot. And that is not building a generation of youth that are critical thinkers, that are planning and preparing, that are creating and making sure that their life is going to be solid financially, stability. We're allowing other people that's creating these TikTok uh, algorithms and other things that people we don't even see. We're just the end user. But where are the jobs of tomorrow? Where do you need to take your skill set? The skill set is not making a video on TikTok or posting being a YouTuber. It's getting behind that technology as to when it breaks down or when it needs to be improved, that you're one of the ones that's the creator, the innovator that's moving that technology forward. When you think back in the 50s and 40s and 30s, blacks had so many inventors. We had so many people with patents and people that were not allowed to read or go to college, but they were self-taught or they made themselves credible in the space. So when it came time for the invention of something like Elijah, the lubricating cup that Elijah created, that was what they wanted in the locomotives. They wanted the real McCoy, Elijah McCoy. They wanted a real lubricating cup. They didn't want an offshoot. And that's where we need to get our young, particularly our young black boys and girls, into these critical thinking, conceptual thinking, creativity, so that you are looking forward as to what we're going to need as a society or to improve our lives technology wise. Even AI. AI is taking over a lot of repetitive jobs that typically our youngsters would have gotten into. Now, how about recreating an education format so that you can fix the AI? The AI will break somewhere along the line. It's going to have a coding error or something along the way. Be the one that's behind the scene, that's having a solution for future technology. And that's going to be where the wealth creation comes in. The wealth creation is not going to be relying on YouTube, but whether they shut you down or not, and then you start crying, I don't have money coming in. Be the one that YouTube is coming to help fix their system.
Hello everyone. Come along with London and Sydney as they show you around the vibrant country of Cameroon. We explore the heart of Africa through the eyes of London and Sydney. Two explorers who journey across the great city of Yaoundé, exploring its rich culture, vibrant market squares, cultural heritage, and wildlife. With giggles and excitement, London and Sydney Explore Cameroon takes you on a fun-filled adventure, providing insight into the country's culture and traditions through the pages of this book. It's packed with exciting stories and super cool facts about Cameroon that will make you go, wow. Get your copy now, available on Amazon and in libraries near you. There's only one easy way to experience the exploration of Cameroon, and it's through London and Sydney. Don't wait, get yours.
Awesome. Awesome. And just so it's clear, I have more listeners than I have viewers, but maybe this one can break the internet like Cat Williams, because I represent influencers, content creators, doctors, lawyers. Everybody seems to do content creation now, but I can hear someone say, hey, she's talking about your clients. No, she's talking about behind the scenes. There's a lot that goes in all of that. And first, before you get to just tweeting your life or texting or TikToking, you need to have some skills. But also, maybe we can go viral because you mentioned the 30s, the 40s, and they might say, hey, she's saying Jim Crow was better. We're trying to get some of that Byron Donaldson smoke. And I'll take all of it, because what somebody said and what they meant or how you heard it, if you ever went to therapy, can be two different things. But, going back to skills and even knowing how to grow things. I have some habaneros that I'm so proud of over here on this side. I have a mango tree that's sprouting over. Yeah. And I'm so happy because my grandmothers on both sides always had something growing and preserves. And I'm like, hey, we're not going to starve, worst case scenario, because we were told about the Depression. And so going back to the old, yes, we need to do. And when you talked about at 2, you know how many people have vilified me for having 5-year-olds do the dishes as good as they can, putting them in the dishwasher. It's not like they're hand washing, completely. But you have to have tasks in life. And do you think that we just have a whole bunch of adults who did not learn how to do tasks? So now we're seeing the decline of just being an adult. Like, people don't know. It's like you can't be 18 and then have to learn how to do the dishes, pay the bills and everything else and expect to win. Like, what can an adult right now who's struggling if they have to, learn a skill set or learn something, what would you tell them to do? Because not everybody had good parents or even grandparents. And some people grew up in foster care. And so, we have to know that we have to raise that village too.
Well, you're absolutely right. As you mentioned, referencing back when I spoke about the 30s and 40s, it wasn't about the time frame. It was about the effort that, in spite of, we had Black people that wanted and they thirst the knowledge. So they didn't rely on what was their adversities at that moment. They looked at, I'm going to do something with my life in spite of, and that's the desire we need to get back to. As you mentioned, not everyone have good parents to give parenting skills. What can someone do to improve their skills in a number of areas? And I can't speak for every state, but there are assistants to retrain, retool, reskill. For our veterans, there is assistance to help veterans to retool, get an education or get a certification. Another area of in our lives, as far as the employability goes, is in the healthcare industry. That's one of the fastest growing industry. When COVID came and people were forced to be vaccinated, and many people died, it created a shortness in the workforce, and a lot of people didn't come back into the workforce because for those 3 years they were afraid of either dying if they were assisting people in the hospital, or they didn't want to get the COVID shots. So we have a gap in the healthcare industry that, if anybody is interested in retooling themselves, is very well paid and very good compensation. And their local schools and their federal grant monies for individuals who want to go into the healthcare field. I am on a board of a local hospital here, and we're constantly looking for people in the healthcare industry. We've even partnered with a couple of colleges in our local area to make sure that we have internship opportunities and then hiring those individuals as soon as they come out of school. So my mother was a CNA, and my first volunteer work was at, back then we call him a candy striper, volunteering in the nursing home where she worked. That gave me my first entry into what it's like to be in work in the healthcare industry, which I almost thought I was going to be a doctor. I went to school. That was my plan accordingly, until I realized I didn't want to be a doctor. So I ended up getting a political science degree and ended up that route. But it's a very noble profession, just like also teachers. We're short on teachers. We're short on male teachers. We're short on male Black teachers. And that's another industry, depending on where you are in the country. I think Florida has I want to say the sixth highest pay for our teachers, and some other states are that way accordingly. And again, COVID created a number of barriers that we are trying to get out of, but it also creates opportunities for people that may want to retool their skills and get into a different field. And there are career centers in a number of states. There are career centers that people can look up, and some of these services are free, to getting an evaluation, taking in your resume, taking in, letting them know what skill level you achieved in high school or college. And there are companies that have partnered with these career centers or skill centers that you may be able to get a job just going through them, getting the certification or going through their process and getting hired.
That is awesome. And if you guys have questions about that, feel free to contact me, because it's something that I've done in past work. And I love sharing things like, the career centers, even the SBA, the scores, the PTAX, Apex Accelerator now that they've changed the name. But those places can really help you with free advice, unlike coming to a consultant always, where if we're going to do life together, that's going to cost, because it's going to take up more time than me telling you, hey, go here, here, here in your neighborhood. What's a community give back that you are doing or that you would like to do in the future?
Well, what we're doing at Yolo Rum, we have partnered with a number of nonprofits that are supporting STEM education and supporting physical wellness. One of the things that we notice with our youth is that they have not taken care of themselves, or they're not eating properly, and they're not exercising. They're sitting down more. In our days, we'll go out and kick an empty bottle or take a stick and hit a ball or something, or hit a stone as a ball, and just be creative and utilize the things that were in our sight. Now it's getting on the phone and playing those video games with your thumbs. I'm quite sure there's going to be a compensation, a workers' compensation somewhere down the line for thumb injuries. But we need to get our kids out and have them travel, have them do. We used to do a lot of field trips when my kids were growing up. I was growing up. My son went to Australia for 17 days with the People's Ambassador program, and there was several kids. They have to be recommended and get a recommendation to the guidance counselor. But it was a supervised trip, and that was his first solo trip all the way to Australia with his other high schoolers. And it was a good experience for him. He got away from home. He got to experience different culture. He came back understanding he didn't like fish too much because that's about all they ate over there. But it was a good breakaway. And from young, we traveled with our kids. We went overseas. They saw different cultures. They experienced different foods. They experienced different music, and have an understanding as to other people don't have it as good as you. And with mom's volunteer work, I would take them with me, Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, Black Achievers Program, the volunteering with Junior Achievement. And on the Saturdays that I went to do my volunteer work, I'm taking the kids with me. So they're seeing by example what I'm doing to give back, and hopefully instilling in them when they got older in their own right to give back. And that's what I'm seeing now with my sons and my daughter. My sons have started a junior college football program in Northeast Florida here, and they created that during COVID when they saw a number of minority boys unable to get a scholarship at a D1 or D2 school, unable to get film so that they at least could be recruited or an offer to come in and work out. The school program shut down. There's no film. And then at the college level, those college students were able to stay there an additional few years. And then the scholarship opportunities reduced. And then now the transfer portal creating additional barrier for high schoolers to enter. And in the 3 years of the program, this is going into the fourth year, 11 players out of the Jacksonville Athletic Academy program were able to go on to D1 or D2 full scholarship rides. That's 11 players that had to attend school that ordinarily probably would not have been in school, what if not for the football program. First time generation of in their family to even go to college. And then the other thing too, if it wasn't for the program, where would they be? On a street corner, hanging out with their friends, getting into trouble, who knows what. But at least the impact for these 11 players now is in a positive trajectory. They're able to continue to at least see how their dreams could come about of going into the NFL, because every football player, higher up, that's where you want to go, to the higher level of their sport. And we wish those players well. And we have another class coming in this year, a group of very fine young men that we believe that even more from this class will be able to get D1 or D2 scholarships. And with my son being in the NFL, played for Miami Dolphins, played for the Eagles, played for the Cowboys, he has a skill set that these players are learning, not at the high school level, not at the collegiate level, they're learning at the NFL level. So when they get to a collegiate, as a matter of fact, the players that got picked up from the Jacksonville Athletic Academy football program, these players, when they stepped on a field for the scouts to look at, the scouts are very impressed with their level of skill set that they don't see in the typical high schooler or collegiate player coming in the first year.
Awesome. And in the state of Florida, a registered sports agent, which I tell all the parents, if you have a kid who's in sports, become a sports agent. Doesn't cost that much. So you can have some type of control and have education. Mine is just because it was a childhood dream. And now that you don't have to go to law school, it's like, okay, but our athletes keep signing with the same people. And a lot of them don't have guidance and they wonder why they retire broke, versus we have a roster of people who can tell you, we haven't stolen anybody's money ever. And that's a big thing, because this being in politics, as I told you in your face, they set you up to go so high in politics and business, and they just need, especially when you're Black, they need one thing to try to make you the scapegoat. And sometimes you can't even explain clearly what happened because it doesn't even make sense. It doesn't matter. I'm moving on to my life. Heck, I'm in South Africa, I'm in Kenya, I'm in Rwanda. I got a house here, a house there. It's okay. You believe what you want to believe. But my question to you is, would you ever run for office again? Because the smartest people aren't the ones that we're trying to make president. And two, what can someone do that they are going through that in their corporate life or their political life where it's like, I'm great. You can't judge me off one thing that the news media has said or that this person has said. Like, how does someone bounce back and make it look so good? Because you're awesome. Your life is awesome, and your history is your history. And I think, the scriptures say, the best is yet to come. So just give somebody a word because it's not easy for everyone to do it. And someone who's had to do it, I know what's boosted me, but my birthday's in June 14th. Trump and I share the same birthday. It might be something about that day where we just don't give a dang. You say what you want to say. We're going to do what we're going to do. But how did it work for you? And would you ever do politics again?
To answer your last question first, yes, I would do it again if I had my own money. I did in politics, in running for office, I couldn't stand going out and asking people for money because it was a big game. You're traveling all over the place, and the people that has the money, they want you to sit there and beg at them and come back and ask them for whatever, and they know that I got you. I can give you the money, or I can hold back the money, and then you still have to come back to me. So it becomes a big game that way. And I didn't like that portion of it. I like campaigning and going out and speaking with the public and understanding what their issues were. And all of my legislation, I had 29 bills that were passed with unanimous vote and having Democrat sponsors as well, either co-sponsors or being my co-sponsor in the Senate or co-sponsoring my bill all entirely in the Florida House. That I worked together across the aisle, and people think that is a bad thing, and it's not. Because if you have a good piece of policy that will benefit the majority, you're not going to benefit everyone. Someone is always going to have something to say, like you mentioned earlier. Someone has to comment on something, so you just let them comment. They have a voice, let them voice it. But the bottom line is that what you're doing is for the right thing. We do not really have many statesmen. You can coin that as statesman, stateswoman, but the term is statesman. And a statesman is a person that's truly working for the people. What I'm seeing a lot of in politics today are people that are working for themselves. How can they advance themselves? How can they puff their chest out? How can they move up to the next ladder? How can they get out there and seem to be the one that's the media's darling? And that's not their job. Their job is to come back and speak to the people, understand what the people want, and represent the people because it's supposed to be a representative republic. And if they're not representing the people, most of the bills that I'm hearing in all levels of government is coming from the lobbyists or the special interests, whoever the special interest group is, so that they can get their own. And then to heck with everybody else. And the regular masses don't really know what's going on and how the sausage is made. That was something, a novelty for me, because I've never been in politics until I was elected to the Florida legislature. She was the first Black Republican female ever elected to the Republican legislature. And when I was elected as lieutenant governor, the first Black elected statewide and the first woman ever elected as lieutenant governor. And so those responsibilities weighed heavily on me because I felt that I needed to create that pathway for others to follow. And when I was in office, I had Democrats because I was in the Black Caucus as well. So I'm very fond, very have good relationship with my Black Caucus members even to this day. And they would come and visit me in my lieutenant governor's office, and they said, "I've never been in here before, even when the Democrats were in office." And I thought that was great because I enabled them to have access. And so the thing about it is that what we see in politics and what we're seeing with the news media, the media has done a disservice to the public because they should be putting out factual content, not injecting their opinion. Because once they start injecting their opinion, you're going to have people polarized because like I said, the average layperson don't understand the true issues that's happening and how it's happening in behind the scenes, that people are really about themselves and not for the people. The other thing is that when I say about having my own money, at least this way I am like um, Charlie Chisholm says, unbought and unbossed. so, so I could like Donald Trump could write his own ticket if he wanted to, but I guess all legal fees he can't right now. But that's the best position to be in. For example, I share with you, there was a legislation that was coming before one of my committees. Now, this individual lived in my community, fundraised for me. He was a lobbyist. At this time, he was lobbying for a particular entity down in South Florida. It was a similar county of one of my counties that I represented. The legislation that he was trying to propose would have been a negative, as far as financial negative, for one of my counties. When the bill came before my committee, someone alerted me of that. And I said, I didn't hear back from my county manager. So I called my county manager to say, this bill is coming up in committee. We're hearing it now. Please call me back and let me know if this is favorable for us, because you will get tied into the same piece of legislation, although the lobbyist is saying it's only for South Florida. They read it over, called me back. They said, ma'am, this will be detrimental to us. It's going to cost us X, Y, and Z. Although that individual fundraised for me in a tune of probably $20,000, $30,000, I voted against his legislation because it was not going to be what my voters sent me and the county sent me to do for them, is represent them. The person was very angry, called me, and he had it out, and I let him know. And then his excuse was, they will forget this in a couple of years. I said, but the bottom line is that I would not forget it, because I did something that was against what I was elected to do. So that's the nastiness in politics and who really runs the show. And unfortunately, the people suffer.
And the things that you said that are not seen or heard, you guys think Harvey Weinstein and Diddy have some stories? If K Street could talk, if certain places, even in Tallahassee, could talk, and they don't talk over here because we don't have that type of book or podcast, but you would be shocked. And I would only assume that it'd be harder for women because you have so many men, and so many men who the power is all that they have.
Mhm.
And then to yell at you on how you voted your interest and your people's interest. And only if we had more of that. But I've noticed something, and I've even had other politicians on. The ones who think like that, they don't stay in office for 2 decades or even sometimes, 5 years, because, ask Mr. Rooney down here in Palm Beach. It's easier to run the kennel or have the Steelers than to be in Congress when people expect you to be a Jesus form. You guys can go check out that interview I did with them if you want another one. I'd love to get all the politicians who will tell it like it is. But I don't want to give the audience too much, because I want them, one, to go get your book that's on Amazon and everywhere else. And two, I want them to get, you see it behind her, you guys, but I want you guys to go get some Yolo Rum. Enjoy your life. Read a
Yes.
book while you're having some rum. Turn off the social media for a minute. Maybe you could listen to this podcast and have some rum too. But let
Yes.
the people know where they can connect with you. Anything I might have missed, because you got so many things going on. If you do any private coaching, let them know now the price and how, because I could just see, especially the young women say, I want to be you. I want your life.
Well, no, they need their own life, but they need to know how to make their life better. And they can reach me at jennifercarroll.com. That's JenniferCarroll.com. You can buy my book there. If you buy my book on my site, you will get a signed copy. And if you book me for events, you can go to book, and that information is there as well. If you want to know more about me, my biography is there, my legislation and the things I've done in the community is there as well. And enjoy the Yolo Rum. You only live once.
You guys have been blessed by the game, whether you experience it listening or watching. And I know more of you listen, but go over to the YouTube and the Facebook, wherever you can catch it. And, make sure you put a comment. But most importantly, no matter how you experience it, share the game with somebody. It will change their life. Y'all be blessed.
Are you tired of the rat race in America? Are you ready to visit the motherland to relax and rejuvenate? Are you ready to explore all that Africa has to offer? Then check out the brand new Diversified Game Academy course, Prepare for My First Trip to Africa. Are you worried about being able to afford the trip? We got you. We will show you how to travel either on a budget or as a baller. Learn how to stretch the value of the USD. Did you know that 100 United States dollars is worth over 1,000 South African rand, or 10,000 Kenyan shillings, or 54,250 West African CFA? Are you worried about taking your kids? Get the game from Kellen Cash, a bona fide world traveler, having traveled to almost 20 countries, several of those in Africa. Get the game on taking your kids on their first trips. Learn how to find the best tickets, get the visas, and plan your own adventures in Africa. Don't let Eddie Murphy have all the fun. Plan your own coming to Africa trip starring you, produced by you, and featuring you. If you are ready for a life-changing experience, sign up for our course today, Diversified Game Academy. Get prepared and purchase at diversifiedgame.com.